guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for July 22nd, 2018. So I actually had a good reading week when you think about all the pages I read, but it was a very eclectic week and a very weird week in a lot of other ways. So I guess I should start first by saying that I put down Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and it's not because I don't want to read this. I just got to the point where I was tired of holding a tome. And again, it was my third one for Tome Topple, and I didn't attack it as well as I should have or whatever, but I didn't finish it last week. And then I tried to keep reading it, and I feel like I have to take a break. So I'm about 45% of the way through. I just over 300 pages. I know I'm going to enjoy this when I read it, and I hear everybody talks about the ending is great. So I do want to read this, and I will get to it. I need a break from it. And it's a science fiction book about like humans have destroyed their planet. And so they're on the lookout for a new planet, and they find one that the humans had tried to make into a new planet with new life, and like a experiment wise terraforming and all that stuff, and but they're not allowed to get on this planet because it's protected by the old technology. And instead of what was supposed to be growing there in intellect, which was monkeys and stuff, it's actually now like insects and spiders and things. So it's so good. The alien side is awesome. I love that those sections. I'm really enjoying them. The human side, not quite so much because they're human, and they have their own issues, what they have to deal with. But I see why we go back and forth chapter wise. But sometimes I'm just like, oh, I just want to stay with the others, with the aliens. So anyway, I really do still want to read this book. I will pick it up here really soon. I just needed a break. It was just too many long books in a row, and I read, over almost 300 pages of the 600 page book, and my brain was melting. So I put that down, and on Sunday last, I decided to pick up On the Map by Simon Garfield, and I actually completed this. So I was hoping that I would get this done in the next week. I had marked it out sections to read like 17 pages a day. Anyway, but luckily I was just like, I just need this done. I want to be done. I've had this book on my currently reading for like over 5 months. Looks like I started it in end of January. So this is a book on maps and how they were started to be created, and then what each like generation or century would take from what people had done in the past, and how they would either use that or they would reinvent it. And it was really good. It's a really good book on the history of maps. I thought it was really well done, pretty comprehensive, easy to read. My only problem is it's just so long that I would get tired after a while. I'd be like, it was really interesting, but I was just like, I can only handle so much of this. So I would read, a couple of sections or like 50, 60 pages maybe at one shot, and then I couldn't touch it for weeks. I just didn't want to. So I think that was my only problem with it, is that I just couldn't withstand it. But it had really has like pictures of some of the maps, and it has some good examples of things in history, and there were things I looked up. There's some marks here of some books or some other ideas and things I want to look up and learn more about. I do have a book that actually, one of the chapters in here, like I have a book that's fully on that one, so I'm looking forward to reading that. It's called The Ghost Map, and it has to do with more epidemic diseases and mapping out where the causes are coming from. It'll be interesting. It's just, I don't know if I'm going to read a map book again this year because this one took me so long, but we'll see. I mean, maybe Nonfiction November I'll pick up one. I'm not sure. I have like 3 others. But this was the one that was like more the history like of maps. So I'm really glad I read this one first, even though it took me so long. And I do recommend it if that is something you are interested in. I thought it was a really good book. So after that, that was the end of like Sunday evening, and I'm like, I didn't want to read Children of Time. So I was kind of like, well, what do I want to read? And I decided to dive into Jane Austen July. So I picked up my little black classic, The Beautiful Cassandra. And this has like 3 little short stories and a couple of letters, fake letters, you know, stories. So it was a cute little introduction to Jane Austen's juvenilia, which is stuff that she wrote in her teens before, you know, she was published. And so they were funny. It's funny because she was much more, there was more dramatic stuff like you know, mysteries and killing and stuff. It was funny, and some really funny things. So I did like this. And again, I have like the whole collection of this, which I need to read. This is the first one I've read out of the whole stack. Anyway, whoops. But anyway, after I read this, I realized that all of these, except for like one, which I don't know where they got one of these letters, but the rest of them are in this book called Catherine and Other Writings. So I've had this since college. And I know I bought it for college, like as a reference for the papers I was writing in my senior year at college. But I don't know if I don't think I read much of it. I might have read a couple of stories that kind of sounded familiar, but I think mostly I didn't. I was going to, but I just never did. And after I got out of college, I admit I did not feel the need to read this. But reading it now, it was very interesting to see her progression from when her youngest to when she gets older, writing this stuff. And it was really interesting, the notes, like the notes in the back that explained what she meant or where that came from, because from other books and other things she would have seen or done or known about in that time. I mean, so it was really good that way. It was really interesting because it was a scholarly look at her, looking at her early writings. And I thought it was really good. But I had to stop reading some of the notes because it was giving spoilers away for the one Jane Austen novel I have not completed, which I'll talk about in a minute. But other than that, I found this really fascinating. And I'm glad I forced myself to read this because, again, it was kind of hard in places because, again, it's a teenager writing stories. And some of them, you're like, what? No, I don't quite get that. Like, But then again, I don't want anybody to read my stuff that I wrote when I was a teenager. I have it all in a box that I call the burn box, which will be burned at my death. It's a joke. Anyway, I just tell my parents just to get rid of it. Don't let anybody look at it. There's a note on it. Don't do anything. Just get rid of the box. Don't look inside. But what I did mark one little thing in here that I just wanted to read, because this is where this quote comes from that I have been wondering where. I couldn't remember reading it. Maybe it's in one of her novels too, but it's definitely in one of her short story. That's the lead thing in here, Catherine, that says, but for my part, if a book is well written, I always find it too short. And I've always wondered where that quote came from, and I found it. So that was cool. Anyway, so I'm glad I read this. It's off my shelf now. It's one of those, one of the oldest books that I've been carrying around with me for years. So I'm so glad that I finished this. And I might be doing kind of a video on the oldest books that are still unread on my shelf. And if you guys are interested in that, let me know. But I think I'm going to do that. But this was one of the oldest. Like, this is one, again, since college. So, and then I also finished The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I listened to this on audio CDs from my library in my car, and I really enjoyed this book. This book was fascinating on how habits are started and how they progress, or how they become a mainstay and you don't really know why you do something like that. So I like the way this book was broken up into 3 parts. The first was about personal habits, and then the second part was business habits, and then the third one was society habits. So I think he did a really good job of explaining how habits drive people, businesses, and society. And I thought it was a really good book considering how long it is. And, you know, there's so much more he could have gone into, but I really liked his examples. And I thought he was pretty concise in those things. So I really enjoyed this. And I find that I'm more attracted to nonfiction on audio. And I'm not sure why that is, but I'm more amped to pick up a fiction book physically than a nonfiction, as the On the Map can show you, because that took forever. But there are some books that I've bought this year and last year that I think I might get on audio, either through my library or through Audible, and just start listening. So I get some of my, I love nonfiction. I have trouble reading it sometimes. Just forcing myself, because I have so many fiction books I want to read. So I think I'm going to start focusing mostly my audio stuff on nonfiction. And so this was the first one recently And again, I did pick up something new. So, just to talk about what I'm listening to now in my car is Quiet by Susan Cain. God, my brain! Jane Austen from earlier. Anyway, so Susan Cain. This is The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. And so far I'm really enjoying this. I'm probably maybe about 15-20% in. I just started this. And it's talking about, how our society, especially in the US, that's all for being gregarious and being to be a leader, you have to be outspoken and stuff. And it's talking about how, not everybody wants to be that way, first of all. And then there's other really good reasons why there are introverts and what they can help with society and do stuff. And I dove right into this. This was like right away there was some good examples, which actually were some of the same examples as in The Power of Habit, but twisted in a different way to show another reason why she was talking about them. It was just funny that two examples that are in The Power of Habit so far have showed up in Quiet. So we'll see how this goes. I'm not sure. I just thought it was really kind of funny. But again, they're used differently and they're showing different things than what the other book showed. So it's kind of interesting because I don't know, I'm learning stuff. It's kind of fun. So anyway, I'm really enjoying this so far. As I said, it looks about 80 pages in. So, it's pretty good. And I'll be listening to that in my car all week or however long it takes. So the book I'm physically reading is The Italian by Anne Radcliffe. Look at that old book. So I've had this book since college as well. It has the sticker from the used bookstore that was down the street from my college. That's why I know when I bought it. Anyway, so anyway, this has The Italian and Northanger Abbey. So, okay, The Italian is Anne Radcliffe, and Anne Radcliffe is one of the first Gothic authors. She wrote novels in the late 1700s. This one was written in 1797, or published. And then Jane Austen wrote Northanger Abbey, and again, it was published in 1818. Is that right? After her death. But she had written it before that. I thought it was 18. Oh, craminy. My brain just went down. I can't remember. Yeah, it was published. Anyway. So, but The Italian, so Northanger Abbey kind of makes fun of Gothic novels and because the main character loves them. Now, again, I've never read Northanger Abbey all the way through. I read only about 6 chapters in college at some point, but I think I set it aside because I was so busy studying some of the other novels, and they were more pertaining to the papers I was writing to finish out, and not Northanger Abbey just wasn't kind of in that wheelhouse because it was like kind of different. Because again, it's more Gothic and it's kind of a spoof, and I don't know. I haven't read it all the way through, and again, I don't know enough. So I'm reading The Italian right now, which again is super dramatic and hilarious. They're just it has these two people, young people who fall in love. And he's noble and she's not, and his mother just is, or his parents are completely against the whole match, and he of course wants to marry his girl, and mother has somebody who takes the girl away to put her in a convent or so that she either take the veil or marry somebody else. And so that's kind of like, again, I'm 100 pages in it. It's just like, it's so dramatic. Everything is, it's so much. It's so scary. It's all, the scenery is all described. It's just way too much description for me. But it's really, it's getting interesting. I really like the character Elena because she's very strong. Her interest is Vidal, or, I don't know how to say his name, to be honest. It's Italian. Vidaldi or something like that. Anyway, so he's really dramatic. He's just all over the board. Like, he's really like says something and then he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, it's really funny. So I'm hoping to finish that out this week and maybe get to Northanger Abbey before the end of the month. I don't know. I'm hoping. I really want to finish out this book as well, since I've had this book forever. I I think I need to start looking at my shelves and finding what books have been here forever and either deciding to get rid of them or not. But this is like, classics are a little different. That's why I've kept this book for so long, is because it had Northanger Abbey in it, and I've always wanted to read the Italian just to say I've read it. So I do want to read this. So anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at. So I expect to read that book pretty much all week. Again, I said I'm hoping to at least read the Italian. I'm hoping to get to Northanger Abbey. There's a readathon. Right now I'm doing the 24 and 48 and I'm failing completely. So don't worry, I'll have a vlog up for that. I want to do the reverse Deweys. I think it starts on Friday night through Saturday night. So I kind of want to do that. And then, and then Book Tubeathon is coming out, and I have no idea what I'll feel like reading at that time. So I'm not putting any TBR up yet. I might put one up like right before, like the day before, because I don't know what I'm going to be reading at that time. Because if I can get through this book, because again, this is like 680 pages between the two books. The Italian is 450, and then the other one is Northanger Abbey, you know. So, I mean, that's gonna be all week for me. And then, I don't know what I'm gonna feel like reading at the end of the week. So I do have my chapters in Bleak House by Charles Dickens to do, and I just have not gotten to this. I've put it off for a couple of months, which was bad. I was really trying to hope to stay to the every month read the 2 chapters, and so far I did good for the first 2 months, and then I failed. So May, June, and July chapters are here for me. I need to read, I think it's about 110 pages, or maybe 130. But anyway, I need to read those between now and the end of the month, because I'm already behind on the videos for both May and June, and you know, by the time I get done with this, maybe July's will be out. So I want to catch up to see, because I was really enjoying it. But again, it's hard to read little bits at a time for me, so we'll see how that goes. But that's probably something I might pick up during Dewey's on Friday and Saturday, but it matters where I am on this. So we'll see. I don't know. And of course, Children of Time is still sitting here for me to go to do. And so anyway, so I rambled way too much on this. So anyway, what are you guys reading? Anything interesting? Are you guys doing all the readathons here in the summer? Summer here in the US at least. During July is a huge month for readathons. There's like ones going on this week and just all over, and I just cannot do everything. So I'm only doing a few of them, but I still feel like I'm doing too many. I don't know. So we will see. So anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.